Hello and welcome to my Faces of the Nightmare series, where I take a closer look at each iconic boss featured in Bloodborne. I'll first read to you what lore I have gathered, and then put a bow on it with some personal thoughts. It's been a while since the last entry, so let's dive right in. In the dark corners of Bloodborne's world, few bosses feel as chaotic and electrifying, literally, as Darkbeast Parl. It's easy to overlook this creature. He's hidden away in an optional area. He doesn't have the build-up of somebody like Lady Maria or Gurman, but Parl is important, both as a piece of lore and as a moment of emotional storytelling buried in the world of Yharnam. When you first meet him, if you take the, quote, wrong path early in the game, you probably stumble into his arena by accident. Let's say you've just been captured by a snatcher and thrown into a dark prison, Hypogean Jail. This is one of the only areas in the game with music, and it's the haunting wail of a choir. More snatchers everywhere and just all around dread and danger around every corner. Eventually, if you make your way out the back of the jail and through a cave, you see a giant door nearby. As you walk towards the door, to the unknowing, it looks like nothing is around. But this mass that looks like part of the elements becomes more strange looking the closer you get. And then it stands up. So who or what is he? Darkbeast Paarl is a malformed skeletal creature covered in twitching fur and surrounded by constant lightning. He's one of the few enemies in Bloodborne to wield bolt damage, and the only boss entirely centered around it. His body seems barely held together, more bones than flesh, and when you fight him, it feels like trying to cage a storm. He screeches, claws, and flings arcs of electricity across the battlefield. But under all that chaos, there's something tragic. Something that was once human and is now lost. It's heavily implied that Parl was once a member of the Healing Church, possibly even a former cleric. He shares visual similarities with Lauren clerics you find in the Chalice dungeons. Tall, bony figures with sparking attacks and beastly features. The Lauren connection is key. The ruins of Lauren are ancient, tied to early blood healing experiments and overrun with beasts. Lightning in the lore of Bloodborne is associated with these ruins. It's a forgotten power used to combat the beasts when fire has failed. So Parl may have been someone who descended into Lauren and tried to master its power, but paid the ultimate price. It's also worth noting where you fight him. His arena sits near the back of Hypogean Jail, close to the remains of Old Yharnam. This area is tied to the church's experiments. The Black Church garb talks about how the School of Mensis and the Healing Church both used this place to store victims. So Parl might not have simply gone mad. He may have been made this way, experimented on, transformed against his will. Even the way you access the fight says something. If you never get captured and thrown into the jail, you can still find Parl by starting from the Yahar Ghul Chapel lamp, head forward to the central area, descend the stairs into the Hypogean Jail cell area, and find a tunnel in the back that leads to the Darkbeast Parl boss arena. And by then, something's changed. The jail isn't just a prison anymore. It's the root of the nightmare. The sky has turned purple. The bells of the School of Mensis toll endlessly in the distance. And Parl isn't guarding anything grand. He's tucked away in a dead end, surrounded by bones. Like a failed weapon. A mistake the church buried. There's a moment after you kill him where the thunder stops, the lightning fades, and what's left is just bones and fur. No ceremony, just silence. That silence is sort of deafening. Defeating Parl grants the player the Spark Hunter's badge, which contains lore about Archibald's fascination with Darkbeast's electricity. Hunter Archibald, a close friend of Parl in the past, was deeply interested in the lightning-emitting abilities of Darkbeasts and studied them to replicate their powers for his own weapons. Parl represents one of Bloodborne's key ideas, the cost of trying to control the unnatural. The Healing Church thought it could master the old powers, that it could bottle up lightning or insight or blood and use it as a tool. But again and again, the results are the same. Beasts. Screaming, howling beasts. Parl is what's left when ambition outpaces humanity. In the end, Parl isn't just a cool, flashy boss tucked away in a side area. He's a reflection of Bloodborne's central horror. Not the fear of death, but the fear of transformation, of becoming something unrecognizable, of being thrown in a cage surrounded by bones, waiting to die, while the thing inside you sparks and rages. And when he dies, the world doesn't change. It just moves on. Darkbeast Parl is one of those bosses for me. One that usually gives me some sort of trouble on each playthrough unless I'm lucky. The beast is very aggressive and sporadic with his movements, making it hard to pin him down based on which weapon you are using. One of Bloodborne's biggest drawbacks, especially in fights against larger bosses, is the camera. The strategy is to stay under him and attack his weak legs until he's stunned. This gives you the opportunity to deal massive damage, but easier said than done. When you're in any position to land a hit, his massive body and limbs are pretty much taking up the entire screen, making it difficult to see what direction you're even swinging. Is this game breaking? Obviously not. Sometimes it feels worse than others. On a recent run, I had a pretty clean go at him without too much trouble, but I thought the camera work for this fight was worth mentioning. When you stumble upon Parl, it feels like you found something you weren't supposed to. A godlike beast tucked away behind an already oppressive jail, crawling with mystery and haunting danger. I find his design above average and menacing to say the least. Bloodborne always does a great job of making the opposition feel overwhelming, and from the first moment you see Parl awaken, it's one of those oh shit type of moments. No cutscene needed, and they execute these encounters masterfully. Just like the cleric beast, you think you're safe, and then you're faced with what looks like the embodiment of certain death out of nowhere. Out of all the beast-like horrors in Bloodborne, where does Darkbeast Parl rank for you? Let me know your thoughts in the comments so we can keep the conversation going. On the next episode, I think it's time we take a closer look at Rom, the vacuous spider. Until then, fear the old blood, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.